into this. Hey, everybody, it's Monday. Hopefully your weekend was wonderful. Let me, hold on, how did I do this? How do I start a show and not have what I need? It's because I was sitting on it. That always helps. You can tell it's Monday. So welcome to Monday. And you are watching To The Point. I am your host, Eric Mitchell. And we're here. Great show. It's 4:20 for those of you who know what that means. And enjoy your day. I will join you later because it's 4:20 and that's what we're supposed to do. Unify each other through 4:20. Because remember when it was bad and illegal? It's not anymore. Anyways, we're here. It's Thursday or Monday. Not even Thursday. Shit, I don't even know what day it is. Anyways, guys, crazy weekend. A little bit of everything happened over the weekend. So let's get to the point with some news before we bring on our first guest. We'll save the best for the end because I know yesterday was like Super Bowl Sunday for many of us sports fans. We finally had some edition of sports on our TV for 2 hours. It was pretty incredible, and it wasn't horse or watching people play video games. We're talking about small business loans here in America. We'll talk about them with a couple of our guests today, but we are talking about the fact that the next round of small business loans is going out. There's been some problems with the first go around. I'm sure you saw that over the weekend. But the Secretary of Treasury said that this new relief package is going to actually include hospitals, which is important because they're getting tapped to the core, I'm sure, with all these coronavirus patients and everything else that's coming in there. They want to provide another $75 billion for hospitals and $25 billion to expand virus testing, which is something that we can all agree on. We really dropped the ball on. Testing is one of those things that's going to help us open the economy. We haven't done very much of it. We need to open the economy. I don't understand why we're not focused on testing, but that's my own two things. As you heard on Friday from the president, the government said we're going to start easing the lockdowns, which has caused protests throughout the country. Of course, everybody's favorite crazy person in InfoWars. Their host was out protesting in Texas. Florida opened the beaches again. I wish they would have closed it and left everybody on the beach. Would have fixed the Florida problem, and we could have just taken it back and turned it into Disney for the entire state. That's my personal opinion on Florida. And then yesterday, unfortunately, we went all of March without a mass shooting in America and most of the planet, it looked like. And then yesterday, Canada had a mass shooting. So our thoughts go out to those families that were affected. 18 have been killed by this deranged human being who decided, hey, we're in the middle of a pandemic. What a better time to start killing people. It's pretty sad. Talking about sports, we're still talking about baseball. That contingency plan is getting some heavy movement. We're hearing, even this morning, I was on some calls, hearing that this could happen. We're really looking forward to it. It's all, again, based on testing. Living in this biodome, Pauly Shore running around kind of atmosphere that they want to have for baseball needs a lot of sign-offs on it, but the biggest thing is testing. Obviously, we're planning on not playing with fans, but still we got to test everybody who is involved. We do have camera people and all that because they need to be televised, because at the end, baseball isn't just America's pastime. They also like money. And then what do we have today? I said it at the beginning. Today is the unofficial holiday for every pot smoker in the world. It's 420. So it's an interesting industry. I was reading up on it just because it's so new where it's legalized. Colorado, of course, led the way. The West Coast now owns the entire West Coast. You could drive from the top to the bottom, and it's legal everywhere. And it's interesting. They haven't felt the effects, but one of the spokespeople for it has been talking about, are they going to see the same effects as the liquor and beer industry has, due to the fact that even in recessions and depressions, people love to drink. So maybe people will love to smoke weed. I don't know, but we're going to find out here soon because we don't have a contingency plan to get this economy going. We really hope soon that we'll be able to. And finally, before we hop to our guest, I want to talk about last night. Sunday night was our big night. It was that feeling that we've all dearly missed. Sports was on our TV. Well, it was old sports from like the 80s and the 90s, but it was still sports, and we got to sit in front of our TV. It was good music. It was great to see these folks. It was the Michael Jordan documentary. The first 2 episodes premiered last night, and it took over social media. It was great. Everybody was distracted by it. We didn't have to feud over coronavirus. The only feud I saw was is LeBron better than Michael Jordan? Well, There's about 23 years difference between the two, so I certainly hope LeBron would beat Michael Jordan today. Michael's in his late 50s, LeBron's 35. So yeah, I think Bron has the advantage. Both are GOATs. Let's face it, it's like comparing Joe Montana to Tom Brady. They both got rings. They're both going into the Hall of Fame. One's already there, and one the moment he retires will be there. So we're done with the news. I want to bring on our first guest so we can get to the point. My first guest today is Joel Comm. I love Mr. Joel Comm, one of my favorite people on the planet to bounce ideas to as an entrepreneur. He is truly, when it comes to the digital age, Joel's led the way. And I'll let him jump in to talk about his famous apps that have got him featured on Jimmy Kimmel and other places. But my first guest is Joel Comm. So let's welcome Mr. Joel Comm to the show.
Hello, Eric
Joel.
Mitchell. How you
Hello,
doing, brother?
Sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hunkered and bunkered in Denver. It is 4:20. And from my 23rd story apartment, I could probably, if I knew exactly where they were, point to a dozen different dispensaries right from here.
Well, you're in what they've, it's funny. You would think California or Oregon or Washington would be the weed capital of the world. It's always the state of Colorado that is mentioned as the kind of the forefathers of legalization. And that's not what I want to talk about with you.
Can I just say
you are in Colorado, so it makes it a little easier for us to talk about. But, it is a small business, right? So we will touch on that before we jump into, I know we have some amazing things we want to talk about. And I see your awesome banner behind you that we will talk about because I want people to go to it. I highly encourage it. I have no camera, but hopefully you can still hear me.
You though. You sound good.
Can you hear me though?
You sound great.
Oh, good. So as long as you can hear me.
You've never looked better, actually.
I don't know what happened here, but we're just going to go to you solo. Let's go to Joel solo, and I'll just
share a story while you refresh your camera there. So
I don't know. I'm trying a new camera today, and this is what I get for a new camera. It worked all weekend. And
it's all good, brother. I used to smoke like crazy when I was in college because who didn't? I was a real stoner. I mean, all through college, I was the guy who was up last at night and woke up in the morning and grabbed a bong. I don't smoke anymore. I stopped years ago. And when it became legal here, I thought, let me, try it again. And I tried it again. I'm like, yeah, I remembered why I quit. And I have no problem with people, lighten up if they want to. Do what you want to do. God bless America. And it's not for me anymore. Which is just funny because it's everywhere, and I could easily get it. So I'm taking over Eric's show. I'm getting to the point, and
I love it. I'll interview you this. I'm waiting for the camera to come up. Hey, this works. I have you on camera, so that's all that really matters. Yeah. So Joel, I know that you tell people a little bit about yourself, right? Before we jump into why I wanted you on the show, tell them, I do know you have a famous app. Well, you have several famous apps. You are kind of the resident. People say Mark Cuban is the digital, grandfather of entrepreneurship. I would argue that you are.
Well, I don't know about that, Cuban.
But you don't own the Mavericks, but you know what I mean.
And not only that, but I remember I had a friend who was working for Cuban when I was back in Dallas in 1995 when he developed AudioNet. There's a guy that I know that was working with Mark. He left just before it went, became broadcast.com and Cuban sold it for billions. So, he made billions. I made a fart app that, it's been downloaded millions of times. So kind of apples and broccoli right there. So I would say he's been way more successful than I, but I'm happy with what I've done. I've been building websites and doing online business since 1995. And since that time, I've done just about everything that's not illegal, immoral, or fattening, from blogging and writing articles to making videos, doing live video, pioneering the social media sphere, speaking. I've written 15 books. I've made apps. I've developed software. I've created information products, social media marketing, affiliate marketing. Like I said, I've dabbled in a lot of different things. And now I've gone down the cryptocurrency rabbit hole, and myself and Travis Wright started a podcast about 2.5 years ago called the Bad Crypto Podcast. And that's been our main jam.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit more about crypto. I know I'm not alone. When people hear the word crypto, they're like, what does that even mean? It sounds great because I've had people, even clients as an entrepreneur, people are like, hey, I'm going to pay you in crypto. And I'm like, Is that like monopoly money? Are you just going to throw it? Like, they're like, I'm going to pay you $1 million Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
It's a digital currency, and if anybody's paying you $1 million Bitcoin, take it, because one Bitcoin's worth about $7,000 right now.
Oh, wow.
It's a form of digital currency that's not dependent upon existing fiat currencies, which the government prints endlessly, driving inflation and making everything more expensive. When it comes to Bitcoin, there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever in existence. They can't make more. You can't change how many are in existence, and therefore it's deflationary rather than inflationary. In an era where we are doing digital payments anyway with dollars, right? A lot of our banking is digital, PayPal's digital, Venmo. Well, imagine a different form of currency that is much faster, that only takes seconds to minutes to send, with incredibly low transaction fees, and are decentralized so that no one single bank or government body or organization has control over that currency. It's a currency that empowers people. And everybody who's in earshot of this right now, you will be using cryptocurrency, and it's coming sooner than you think. So go down the rabbit hole and start learning about it so that you're prepared when this massive shift happens in the way we handle payments, transactions, contracts. It's blockchain technology, which is what underpins Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, is going to impact and change just about every vertical you can think of. Eric, you with us, buddy? Now I'm truly taking over the Eric Mitchell Show, and I'm going to get right to the point. So if you want to learn more about cryptocurrency and blockchain, just subscribe to the Bad Crypto Podcast. You can find it on all the channels. Welcome back, Eric.
I'm back. All these technical difficulties, and I'm back. I had to.
It's a good thing I can carry a show.
Thank God you can. I was like, other guests, this would have freaked me out, but it's you. So I was just
going to bring in your next guest.
Well, the next guest, so it would work.
Your microphone though is kind of winded, like I'm getting you have a real background behind you. That's not a green screen.
No, sir. Hold on, I know why. It's because I was moving around and I knocked my microphone.
You look good, by the way. Oh yeah, we're getting it's like wind blowing through Oklahoma right now.
Sweet. I love Oklahoma.
There you go. I lived there for 8 years.
Did you?
I did. I lived I'm from Illinois. Went to University of Illinois, ILLINI, Champaign-Urbana. And as soon as I graduated college at 21, I moved to Texas, lived there for 12 years, lived in central Oklahoma for 8, and I've been in northern Colorado since 2007, and I love Denver.
Outstanding. I'll check that out. Well, this was an interesting interview, wasn't it? We had a couple minutes left, and now that I'm back on camera, which was weird that I wasn't, but technical difficulties happen even in live TV. I've watched it happen. I was actually, true story, was at a local TV station, and all of their cams went down. They had some glitch because everybody thinks because they watch network TV that there's like 100 people on a set. And regional TV, that's not that way. There's actually like a person in the control room and the crew, and they're moving the cameras around, and they just don't get it. So it's I don't feel too bad when we have these
stuff happens, and being real about it. I think people appreciate that more. It's one of the things I like about live video is you don't have to have a script. You don't have to have a fancy background. You don't have to have your hair and makeup on point, because people identify with real and authentic.
Absolutely. So, Joel, before we go, let's talk about that. You are the person that I like to hear speak about when it comes to visual content. Mm-hmm. And our next guest, of course, is George Bryant, which you're the one that introduced me to George.
Love
so
George.
You're very familiar with the man. When it comes to video, and now we're all at home, I know you and I both have always worked from home. This is like nothing new to us. It's like Monday, where other people are like, it's week 8 of working from home.
I don't even know what day it is. They're all the same to me.
I only know it's Monday because the Jordan documentary was on last night. And that's the only reason I'm aware of it was Sunday, because now I have to wait 7 days. But tell people why they should get on, encouraging them to use video more is the wave of the future, and the wave of the future is here now.
Well, I think that, live video is the most social form of social media we have, right? It's the next best thing to being in person, with somebody in the room, because so much communication is body language and facial expressions. You could tell if I'm happy just by looking at me, or if I'm angry, right? You could tell right away just by looking at somebody. Ooh, I like your lower thirds there, by the way. Very nice. I like your logo. I like your little intro thing. The fact that you did polish it is nice. Doesn't have to be, but it definitely raises the bar, especially if you want to get a network or a cable show of your own. Know what I mean?
That's kind of the goal.
But here's the thing. People are scared of going live, and you don't have to be, because you don't need all of this. In fact, let me demonstrate by just turning off my virtual background. There I am in my home office, and it removed all my makeup, so I don't wear. You're
still a beautiful man.
I did shower and blow dry my hair for you, though. But, it's unscripted. Which is why I don't like getting questions in advance when people are going to interview me. I don't want to know. I want to have an authentic, in the moment conversation. So, if you're in business for yourself, turn on the camera, talk to people, ask them questions, engage with their comments, show them behind the scenes, tell them stories, introduce them to the team, to what it is you do. How do you make the donuts? Just connect with people in a real, authentic way. And all you need to do that is this device right here, because you can go live on Facebook. You can go live on Periscope, which is Twitter. You can go live on YouTube, and there's many other apps. And all you got to do is hit the button and stay and go.
You said it the best, and that's what I've been encouraging people to do. So that's why I really wanted you on as we enter another week. And no matter what, everybody thinks we're going to flip some switch. Yeah, they're opening beaches up. Let's be very real about, we're not done working for, and I know we didn't get, I have to have you back on because
don't get me started.
That rabbit hole.
Don't get me started.
I know. We'll have you back on. If you're available next week, let's have you back on to go down that rabbit hole.
Well, next week is going to be crazy, because next week is this. We're putting on a week-long conference called Virtual Blockchain Week. And if you go to virtualblockchainweek.com, you can go register for free. I'll just leave it at that right now. Go to the site, watch the video, and go, oh, damn, it's free. I'm in.
Sweet. I love it. Well, Joel, thank you for coming on today. We greatly appreciate you.
Can I say hi to George before you boot me?
Sure, I'll bring you both in. George, you're going to come in, and we're gonna do the cool three.
What is up?
Look at the three-way screen. I love it.
Wow.
I love technology. That was awesome, Joel.
I don't like that you prefaced it by saying this was a three-way, though. That was a little.
I might have said it on purpose.
That was a little.
You do have two Marines in the same box right now.
Semper Fi, gentlemen. I knew you'd hit it off. I'll let you have your conversation. Take care.
Thanks, Joel. Love you, brother.
There we go. Well, George, buddy.
Now we're in.
Buddy, how are you?
There we go.
There we go.
Good to see you, my friend. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, my friend. How are you?
I am beautiful in a snowstorm, pink hoodie, cup of coffee, ready to go.
I love it. I mean, how's the hair coming? Did we just stop growing it out, or?
No, it's still here. I'll share it with everybody. It's coming. It's coming in good.
Yes.
It's coming in good.
Thank you for making my day, for showing the world that.
Of course. Actually, I think it's the first time it's been publicly unveiled in 4 months with the hat coming off. So we're all about firsts and to the point with Eric Mitchell.
I love it. So I wanted to jump in to tell a few folks, we kind of just threw you into this. So everybody, this is George Bryant. As you figured out from, of course, two Marines talking, you instantly hear one of us says that we're Marines. But George, you have an incredible story, and I read your background and heard about your legs. Can you just walk me through that? Because you had your
no pun intended on the walk.
On the walk, but can you? I know, right? Can you tell us more about that? Because your legs, your calf muscles, they like basically exploded, right?
Yeah. So we stopped it from happening, but it was pretty painful. So I had what was called exercise-induced compartment syndrome. So on a lovely deployment to Somalia in 2004, back in my Marine days, I was really addicted to working out, bodybuilding, everything else. Well, when you add, 60 pounds to a frame that it doesn't need, and, a combat load of 70 pounds in 120, 130 degree weather, I was basically on a mission, and I was running, and my legs they hurt so bad. It felt like shin splints on steroids. And then all of a sudden, pop, I was out cold, like completely out cold. I passed out from the pain, and I woke up, and they said I had exercise-induced compartment syndrome. So basically there's like 4 compartments in your calf. Don't Google it. If you just and all the blood would pump down, but it couldn't come back up. So instead it just expands and expands, and it either happens traumatically or sometimes it's induced. And if they don't stop it, it basically just, luckily for me, there was a doc there, needle in the leg, drained it out, got brought back to medical facilities. But yeah, it ended up turning into a pretty dangerous road. It was bilateral in both my legs. They told me I'd never walk again. They talked about potentially amputating my legs. And I was a stubborn Marine, as you know, and I was like, I'd rather have my legs and have a chance of using them than you taking them. And so went through about 6 surgeries, 12 months in a wheelchair, and 18 months of physical therapy, but I still have them. They're in my shorts below the table because we're working from home. So it's just, waist up these days. And I ended up tying a world record for a standing box jump and ran some Ironmans and marathons. And I can't feel them from the knee down, but I can still use them, which is key. So if you ever see me walking on the street and I trip, I'm completely fine and I have an excuse. No need to judge me. You can laugh with me because I laugh about it. I pick myself up and keep going. So that's kind of what happened to my legs.
I love it. I mean, I don't love that happened to you, but it was an interesting story that I read. So let's hop into why I wanted you on. You are the guy I personally turn to when I'm looking for some motivation when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And you put a unique spin on everything. Number one, you provide a lot of free information to folks. You take away from all these hacks and coaches that are out there, and I'm going to call them exactly that. These folks that are out there selling these programs that have no business doing anything. They've never owned a brand, done a thing, but they're out there, pitching courses, right? I mean, I see it being in PR. Everybody's a PR expert, yet they've never placed a single person on TV. It's like, really? When was the last time you put somebody on TV? Tell me name and date. I mean, I belong to groups that you have to have somebody on weekly to stay in the group. So it's kind of crazy. So when I see it, so for you, I love what you say. And I'm going to look at my notes because your exact wording is develop deeper relationships with your customers, employees, and themselves. Yeah. Walk us through that in today's environment. As you're well aware of, we have the coronavirus that has taken over basically everything, and it's not going anywhere. It's here to stay.
It's here to stay.
It
is here to stay. Yeah. You know what really I love about it? It removed the veil. It really, really did. It removed the veil that everybody was used to, where you could get away having faceless, where you could transact because people were in a net neutral state. So they were like, oh, it's an expenditure. But now, human agency was taken away, which means all of the veils kind of fell to what it is. And so I trademarked this term and I teach this process called relationships beat algorithms, right? And when it comes to business, when it comes to marketing, people don't buy the best products, they buy the best relationship. And that's where most businesses fail to meet the mark, right? It's about, the numbers factory. If I put 100 in, then I'll get 10 out and it'll make this back, so then I get 100 more. But they don't realize that for every 1,000 people that I put into a room, if I'm like, how many of you like George? Only 100 hands go up. And I'm like, how many of you don't? And 900 go up. And businesses have been creating anti-marketing machines for years by not understanding just simply the power of relationships. So I help companies build deeper relationships with their customers by literally teaching them that your business doesn't exist if it's predicated on a credit card transaction. Your business mission, like Nike's not like, oh, just do it when you pay me $7,000, right? That's not how it works. It's just do it. And you have to build a business that way for it to be a business. And so we teach people how to use the power of relationships over algorithms to scale their business, to start their business, to grow their business. But it all starts from within, right? You can't grow a company if the CEO or the founder isn't growing themselves. And I say nobody has a marketing problem. Everybody has a relationship problem with themselves, their team, and their customers, informed in that order. And so when we think about it now, what's happening in the current state of the world, and everybody's kind of net neutral, right? The big words that are being thrown around are safety, security, and certainty. But you can't throw those words around to create that feeling. You have to be that way, right? You can tell people I've seen emails from, I'm in your corner, like we're in this together. I'm like, as you're sitting on your private beach, flying in your jet, you're not in this with anybody, right? Like you have to be in a relationship with people. And one thing that you start to realize when you build massive companies, and I've built over 300 companies into 7, 8, 9, and 10 figures, and whatever the billion is, I don't even know, 2 of them. And when you think about it, you start to realize that customers, they're not buying products. They're voting with their dollars as that product, but that product is just a bridge. What they're really paying for is access and accountability. Nobody buys a product and they're like, oh, I'm buying this, I'm buying this workout equipment because I think it's going to do the work for me or it's going to be magic. No, they understand that they have to use it, But the reason that they're choosing it is because they're trusting that brand or trusting that business, that once they do buy, that brand or business is going to help hold them accountable to what was promised. And that's really where we focus all of our time. And so what I love about right now is all the curtains drop. You know who was an Oz behind one and who wasn't, because all you're left with right now is human relationships, right? People are consuming podcast consumptions up 40%, social media consumptions up 11 times. And what people are starting to see is who was actually here and here to support as a person, not as a business, and who wasn't. And it's really kind of unveiled the game, and people are starting to see what it's like. And, we've seen this across the board. I've had clients from pre-revenue all the way up to $37 billion a year calling me. What do I do? What do I do? NBA teams, athletes, movie stars, you name it, they all call. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And the truth is that most of the businesses that I'm watching thrive right now are the ones that have always valued the relationship with their customers prior to this happening. And it's a massive opportunity right now.
So that's a great point. And I didn't get to bring it up with Joel, but I'll bring it up with you as a business owner who talks to a lot of big brands, small brands, everything in between. As you know, over the weekend, it came out that some of big brands, and I'll name them, Ruth Chris, Shake Shack, Potbelly, the list goes on. They were first in line for these CARE Act bailouts that were supposed to be for businesses under 500 people. They were first in line. And then it came out that their legal team actually got it ahead of time, so they knew everything. So the moment it came live, they dropped it, they got it. And they weren't taking a little bit of money. They were taking 20, 50, 60 million. Then it comes out even better. I love this. And then there's more. Ruth Chris had almost $100 million in the bank and still had the nerve to ask for a $25 million loan.
Yep.
Is this the classic case of that actually hurts them? Because now people see it, and now all I see on social is support more small businesses. Now, it's not the NBA or any of the sports teams that are doing this. And in fact, it's not Nike. It's these greed is like driving it. And now it's exposed. And I think that's where our country becomes tighter around this subject, where people are like, now I don't want to go there. I don't care. It's Shake Shack. And I don't care if Shake Shack gave back the money. Like, oh, look, we gave it back. I saw that. Ooh, good for you, Shake Shack. You did it because your PR team was on fire. And I'm not talking in the good way. You blew up the bridge and you left Nagasaki behind. And you're like, oh, we gave it back.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, when it comes to
here's the thing. Like, I love this. I own 7 businesses, and we're multiple, a few of my 3 off the top of my head. We do between 8 and 12 million a year. And we said, hey, we're not laying anybody off. And we told our employees, you're getting paid. We cut our pay as owners, and we're down 70%. And then we applied for PPP and EIDL, and we were denied. We submitted our application 45 minutes after it opened, and they said we ran out of money. And so we're the ones that are like, we're supporting people on the ground. And these guys that are in big holding groups are literally collecting. Banks are making 16 billion in just fees in this alone. And like, the loyalties really have kind of fallen on the thing. But what I love about all of this happening, like I said, the veils are coming off. We've been talking about years, running movements like support small business, right? Support the local people. But yet the voting and the action with the dollars wasn't following suit, because everybody was so in their patterns or so in their normal thing. And like, now what you're really seeing is who's been in it from the get-go, right? Like, I'm in Mammoth Lakes, California right now, and I'm watching these restaurant owners like reinvent themselves every single day. And they're like, nothing's coming to me, so I have to do this. And we support them. We'll buy their meals for takeout so we can cook them at home. Then they're offering free lunch every day. They're cooking free lunch on their dollars to feed the first responders and the hospital workers and anybody who needs it in these times. And like, now is the time greater than ever to show your loyalty and show your alliance to what is actually the heartbeat. Like, the heartbeat of this country. Like, the blood coursing through the veins of this country is not from up here. They think it is because we've allowed that to happen, because we vote with our attention, we vote with our dollars. But this country is founded and built upon small businesses, people that have a dream and a passion that really genuinely care about helping other people. And they're going to continue to do it whether they get bailed out or not. And that's really where we have to support it. And so, yeah, when this is happening, like, all the cards are on the table, right? Stoicism, they call this a memento mori. Like, what's the field really look like? What's the game that we're playing? And now everybody's starting to see it. Everybody's starting to see who is really concerned. Like, I'm reading bad press about people that are literally, and Eric, I'm sure you've seen it. It's like, oh, this is the best person in the world, like the nicest person ever. And now, of course, their staff comes out and they're like, oh, for the last 20 years, we've been emotionally abused while we're projecting this image on television. And here's the truth. When the veil comes off, all you're left with is the truth. And now is the most important time to pay attention to where you're going to use this moving forward, because there is no switch next week that like life is going back to normal, business is going back to normal. We're developing and establishing a new normal, but in that we also get to choose what we tolerate and what we allow, because we are the ones that are in power. We're the ones that make the decisions, and we're the ones that make these things work or not work. And so that's kind of my short answer on that one.
I love that answer, man. That's a lot of what I've heard. And I know I talked offline to you about this. I actually spoke to an amazing door gunner Marine. She's a badass. She'll be on the show on Thursday, and she talked about this Marine mindset, which I kind of was like, oh, is this like some vet bro thing? And it wasn't. It was a total. I like it because it kind of takes adapt and overcome, and something that I don't even think about and haven't thought about for a long time. But it's true. Like, it's ingrained in us where we do naturally kind of flow and want to keep our normalcy. And then you look at some of these businesses that are completely freaking out and their true colors are coming out. I mean, there's some big time influencers who, lounge on Lambos and lay on plane wings and do all this stuff. And they fire their entire staff and then threaten them with cease and desist orders if they dare speak up. Yep. And it's like, so the true colors start coming out over and over again. And you hit the nail on the head. And that's what I really love is I think that's where we're at now is that you're right. There is no switch. And as a matter of fact, I actually stole this phrase from you. We're building the plane as we're going down the runway when it comes to what we're doing now. Business today is being truly redesigned and built going down the runway. For a matter of fact, right before we came on air, I read an article that the CDC is sending a recommendation to all large grocery stores so no more people can go in. They want to make it outside. Could you imagine that? Now, we've been using Instacart and Safeway delivery. Thank you, Safeway. We've been using those and our friends at Whole Foods. Thank you, Amazon. We've been using those delivery service. It's not new to us, but so many people, it's foreign. Like, how do I do that? I don't go to the grocery store. And I'm talking about our baby boomers. This is new to them. I mean, I'm shocked I'm still not setting the VCR for my parents. That's because I gave them an Apple TV and it does it automatically. But they still have a VCR. I just want the world to know my parents still have one of those dual head VCRs. But I think that you coined that, and I appreciate you for doing that. So before we go, we're going to have you back on. I want to have you on weekly because you're motivating us all get out, brother. So Mondays, you're on. Motivation Monday. George is on every Monday. We give him.
Do it.
He's got a segment. But before we go, tell folks, how they can get in touch with you. This is a guy you definitely want to follow. If there's anybody, I know I don't hype very many people, and I know there's other branches out there going, he's only doing this because they're Marines. You're really going to be pissed because guess what? The next guest is also.
Love it. I love it.
It's weird how all the guests happen to be from the same branch. I don't know how this happens.
It's just the power of relationships, Eric. They beat algorithms all day, right?
All day long, baby. So tell folks how they can get a hold of you. There's some comments in the feed. I'll get to you afterwards. Some great comments about you, George, so you should probably go check them out. But tell folks how they can get a hold of you and find out more.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. The best place to find me, I make this easy, mindofgeorge.com. I'm a little crazy, so just remember mindofgeorge.com. I have a podcast, comes out 3 times a week. I try to give away everything I can to empower business owners, entrepreneurs, or human beings to live the best life possible. So everything that you need is on there. Our free Facebook groups on there, free content for you, and our podcast. So I'd love if you subscribe to the podcast. Let me know. And if you have any requests, hit me up and I'd be there to support you. So mindofgeorge.com, MINDOF, and then GEORGE, not Jorge, George.com. That's the best place.
Showing your spelling tech skills and everything.
I know. I live in SoCal, so I get called Jorge all the time, and I love it. But I have to remember that my name is George.
Yes, I mean, but there is a great Yankees catcher, Jorge Posada. So
yeah, but I'm from Boston, so now we're gonna get into it. Good thing is I don't watch sports.
I'm sorry, we're having bad audio. I can't hear you. I don't. Sorry, bad comms, bro. I gotta let you go now. No, just kidding. Thanks for being on. We'll have you on next Monday, buddy. Have yourself a great week. Again, George Bryant, ladies and gentlemen, go follow him. Check out his podcast. It's a doozy. I'm gonna add it to our YouTube. So if you're watching us after hours, just scroll down. You'll find the link. Go subscribe and give a listen. George, thanks for coming on, bud. Have yourself a great week.
We'll see you next Monday.
Thank you, bud. Now, we're going to bring on one of my favorite people. I'm glad I finally could get him on the show. You're like, well, the show just started last Wednesday, Eric, so finally get him on. It's like 4 days. But we're bringing him on. He's like a mentor to me, which is funny because he's younger than me. But I have a lot of mentors that happen to be younger than me. This next guest is Shane Therault. Shane went from high school dropout to presidential guard. That's pretty badass, right? Right there, you just kind of give him kudos just for being presidential guard, to successful entrepreneur. And now he's giving back and helping entrepreneurs take it to the next level and build their business. He's launched this. He's got a great team. You could see him all over Facebook. Hopefully they're watching. But Shane is helping folks. So I want to bring him on and talk about what he's doing, because now is the time. If you're that guy or gal sitting at home going, what the hell am I going to do? My job doesn't exist. I don't know when I'm going to go back. Shane has an answer for you. So let's bring on my buddy Shane.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Eric, it's good to see you, man.
Oh, heck yeah. It's good to see you, bud. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Staying busy.
That's good. You're in the state of Florida, right?
Yes, I am in the crazy state of Florida. Please, dear God, do not hold that against me.
I won't, because you're originally from Georgia, so we won't judge you. You have that accent that people from Florida don't have. I mean, you're up in the Panhandle, right? Or are you further down?
No. So I am just east of Orlando in Brevard County.
Okay, I know right where that is. Awesome.
Yep.
So let's jump in, Shane. So what is your advice to all these people that are, I think it's at 22 million, and we'll get the new numbers in a few, this Thursday, we'll get the numbers for last week's unemployment, which I see going up. We were already at, I believe, 10% of the country is unemployed. At 22 million is the number from last Thursday.
Right.
What's your advice to those folks who are looking for work and they're like, I have no idea what I want to do, but I know I'm a good entrepreneur? You work with some of the best. So what's your advice for those folks and what they should be doing?
Shift your business as quickly as possible. If you were currently working for somebody, for a corporation or another business, and you want to become an entrepreneur, there is literally no better time than right now to get started, because the market is, especially the online market, is really, really hot because everybody's stuck at home. People have problems that still need to be solved. And at the end of the day, that's what entrepreneurship is all about. It's all about being a problem solver. So if you can figure out what problem it is that you solve right now, then it's a great time to jump in because of a couple of reasons. One, like I already said, everybody's online. The second thing is a lot of the competition that you would have had is now going away because people don't know how to shift their business. And if you do already have a business and you're struggling right now, now is the time to shift. I'm very fortunate to get to work with a group of incredible people through my company and through a lot of other things that I do. And it's really amazing to see when that brain clicks and you finally understand how you're going to shift your business in a market like this. And it's amazing to see the success that people have very, very quickly when they do that. And that's what I would do right now. I mean, that's a very broad answer, but shifting your business and learning how to do that. I'm sure we'll dive into it a little bit deeper here, but that's what you need to be doing.
I like that, because that is true. And I think it's kind of the theme for today's show. And that's really what I wanted to do. You know, Mondays to me are our business days, really to kind of dive into business development and kind of get a focus on your week. A lot of people have lost track of what day of the week it is, what they're doing. The life of an entrepreneur, as you know, there isn't really no days off. We're always constantly working. I was on the phone yesterday with 2 other entrepreneurs at the same time. So we're all working. We're always doing stuff. But you know, you touched the same point that George did. You have to pivot, be ready to reinvent yourself and go, and get comfortable with the uncomfortable, putting yourself in front of a camera, using social media, figuring out YouTube, which it's very, you think it's very simple, right? I mean, you probably know this, but it's not as simple, and it's not overnight. And I really want people, and that's why I wanted you on. This isn't picking on multi-level marketing at all. So multi-level marketers, chill. But there is no get rich quick pill, right? I know that there's people out there that will hop on here and they'll be like, hey, give me $1,000 and I'll make your YouTube in 20 minutes. And you're like, not true. That doesn't happen, because I'll go ask, YouTube influencers, even Logan Paul, and he'll be like, dude, it doesn't happen overnight. That, you don't get subscribers overnight. There is no cheat code. I know that's what everybody wants. So what is your answer for people to, how do they get started, right? If they're going to come and say, hey, Shane, okay, what do they even need to be prepared? Like, what's it, how do they even get started? I guess is the best question.
So there's so much overwhelming knowledge out there, and we see it every day. I mean, I know that your advertisements on Facebook are probably bombarded with coaches and entrepreneurs that are going to show you how to do it. And what I've seen is most common is everybody goes and they sign up for a course or they sign up for a program and they get all this knowledge. And though it may be good knowledge, they're overwhelmed, because the truth is there's so many ways to get started that you can be overwhelmed with them and then freeze and not do anything. So this is my recommendation, but understand this is not the only way to go about doing this. Before we get that criticism, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Here's what I would do. Like you said, I would start making videos. If you're not good at videos, it doesn't matter. Practice. You need to be practicing your video skills and engaging with people. I would start on Facebook and start building an audience. Okay, so building an audience is super important, and a lot of people think you need to have millions of followers before you can build a business. But one of my clients not that long ago built a 7-figure business from 800 person group. That's all he needed was 800 people in a Facebook group, 7-figure business. This stuff is very possible, but you have to start somewhere. So get on Facebook. And the reason why I mentioned Facebook is because it's the only platform that allows stuff to be shared at such a high rate, and the algorithms are really in your favor. So if you can get on there and start building an audience by joining Facebook groups where your ideal client would hang out. For example, if you want to work with stay-at-home moms and help them get their businesses started, or maybe just help them cope with hanging out with the kids every day now, you could go into a bunch of mom groups and you can start nurturing them, answer their questions, connect with them, engage with them, build relationships with them. And as you do that, you will see people start to message you, start to engage with you, start to become fans of yours. Once they become fans, it's pretty simple. Create your own Facebook group with your own niche and get people to join it. Shuffle them into your group, because that's an environment that you have full control over. And from there, you can start using multiple techniques to continue to get people to engage with you on a regular basis. And eventually you will transfer into sales mode where you will sell them a product, a coaching service, something that you have. And that is a wonderful, wonderful way to get started in business. And I'll tell you, I've seen people make 6- and 7-figure companies in less than 12 months using this strategy. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And now's a really good time to put it into action.
I love that. That's sound advice. So before we let you go, like I tell everybody, this is your time. You never get to do this on regular network TV. So I'm breaking every rule. Tell folks how they can get a hold of you and learn more. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys want to be learning how you can get started right now online, building your business or growing your business and shifting, myself and 2 of my business partners actually have a free community that you can be a part of. We're putting out free trainings. There's a ton of awesome people in there that are just helping each other out. It's wonderful. You can go to facebook.com/groups/Generation Impact Group. Generation Impact is the movement that we have started to impact lives by creating a chain reaction, because we help you guys, the ones that are going to be impacting other people's lives, we help you become more successful and grow, so that way you can go out and impact lives, and those people will go out and impact lives, and it's just a chain reaction that keeps going. Do you guys want to be a part of that community? Just look it up, apply to join, and we'd love to have you in there.
Awesome. Thank you, Shane, for coming on the show. We will have you back on.
Thanks for having me.
In a couple of weeks, if you'd like to come back on, would love to have you inspire and answer more questions. So if you have a question, send it to Shane. I'll point you in the direction. All the information will be in the YouTube after the show is back up. So in a few hours, if you need to get hold of Shane and you didn't have a pencil or pen around, you can hit him up. So Shane, thank you so much for coming on, bud. Have yourself a great week, and I'll chat with you soon.
Thanks, brother. See you soon.
Thanks, bud. So here we are. We are down to our final guest, and we're running on time. It's amazing. And I'm not getting text messages that I'm running late, so that's even better for me. So our next guest, you've seen her on Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV, runs an amazing business that's truly everything social. So also business, social, you're getting the subliminal hint that I'm throwing down today, that I definitely want to have the top tier folks on this Monday as you go in. hey, you're going to be working from home for a while. You might as well figure it out. Streaming's the way to go. So I figured to end the show, I'd bring on our expert. You, like I said, seen her on Newsmax. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is Jordan Gelber. Welcome her to the show.
Hello.
Jordan, how are you?
I'm good. I've been like taking notes the whole time. I love what everyone's been saying. So this has been a mind-blowing day. I love hearing all that stuff. So it's been good.
I was surprised. I mean, George, two Marines in a row. I mean, you're lucky they weren't eating crayons while we were all talking. And we didn't have the hug fest that so many people expect when Marines come into a room. You know how we're like CrossFitters and vegans? We're the first ones to tell you who we are. But that just proves, I mean, we have amazing veteran entrepreneurs, and not to pitch a segment on my show in the middle of a guest, but we do have Thursdays, we do have Veterans and First Responder Day here at our show. So that's where we take care of those folks. That's weird. Why are people calling when I'm on a show? There you go. Technology, baby. Hey,
I love it. Gotta love it.
But let's jump in and talk about you. You run, your story's amazing. You were sitting at an agency, right?
Yeah, I basically, I started my business in 2013. I have a company called Star Baby Enterprises. We're a marketing and production firm. I started it in 2013. I was working at a company where we built independent fashion shows for the public, and I was just really not motivated by it. There's so many great points that some of your previous guests made about building relationships with people and that being the longevity of your company. And this brand that I worked with, she just wasn't doing that. And so I learned so much, and I was like, I can do this and I can do it better. And I really believe in the value of working with people and helping people's dreams come true. And I just said, I'm going to do it. And I started my own business. And now 7 years later, we're doing some crazy, awesome stuff. So, I mean, we're doing the marketing and the production angle. So it's been exciting.
So that's a great topic. Let's talk about streaming. I know some people think that the only way that they can get anywhere is to jump on some gigantic network, right? I have people all the time call me up. Hey, Eric, how do I pitch my show to gigantic network? And I'm like, do you need to start smaller? I don't want to go there. Nobody watches. And I've seen some incredible folks on Roku, on Amazon, Apple TV. They're killing it, and they have standalone apps, and you can click on them and watch, and it's their own channel. It's like their own version of Netflix, which I just read is up record-breaking numbers right now, because besides Tiger King and The Office, I think we've watched The Office again. I think we'd already watched 100 times from beginning to end. And and if anybody wants to argue this point, welcome it on Twitter, that when they put Andy or Ed Helms in the show and made him the boss, that's when the show went downhill. He's not Michael Scott. But I digress from that point. But tell people about streaming. It's legit, and it's the future. Throw some numbers out there. Whoa, where'd you go?
It's all good. It's all good.
All right, there you go. Now you're good.
Background than I do right now. I love yours. So, I mean, streaming is where it's at right now. I think a lot of people assume that the big, juggernauts, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Studios are like the way to go. Disney Plus. I mean, I think I've relived my childhood on Disney Plus since the start of this quarantine. I mean, streaming is really the way of the future. Like so many people previously said today, if you weren't prepared to have some sort of remote business or virtual storefront, for a lot of people in the media space, because the entertainment industry has just gotten slammed by this and they're going to run out of content soon. A lot of people think that, Quibi, who I am still feeling it out right now, but there are all these great networks that are coming out where they're independent. You could get distribution tomorrow. You can have distribution on Roku and Apple TV and Fire TV and iOS and Android, and kind of create your own ecosystem of your own channels and networks and content. And people think that, you can only hang out with the big dogs. That's how you stay relevant. But the fact is, if you have your own network and you're saying, hey guys, I have my own network, come check it out. It's on these amazing platforms that a lot of people have. Most people have a smart TV device in their home or their phone. You can be the next big Netflix, and you could start that in quarantine. I mean, we've seen a huge influx. So many different brands have been coming to us about building their own channel or building their own network. Especially a lot of publishing houses, a lot of different magazines, a lot of different smaller networks that can't film right now because you can't go in a studio. It is really the way of the future. And if you're not making content, I really don't know what to tell you. If you're not making video content, you're not doing anything. It's really, I think that one of the best points I heard today from one of your previous guests, I think the first guest, he said that video content is like the best form of social media right now. So imagine taking that and putting it on an even bigger stage beyond just social media, what you could do with that.
I love that point, because all three out of the four of you have said this. So I was counting in my head, scary. But 3 out of the 4 of you have said that. So content is king. We've heard that, right? Gary Vaynerchuk is famous to say you have to have 70 some odd pieces of content a day. Okay, I'd never get to that point. Love Gary to death, but sorry, Gary, that's just not going to happen. I don't have the team you have, brah. But when it comes to video, you're right. What are your tips for, what are you telling folks who are getting started and getting in front of the camera? Obviously, we had 2 gentlemen who were talking about it, but there's a lot of women out there. And I know they're the ones, I know my wife falls into this category of, she's really good on camera now, but it took her just jumping headlong into it and embracing it. What's your tips for folks? And let's give it from a female perspective. We had Joel and George knocked it out of the ballpark, being like, just hop on, put a hat on. I mean, kind of look at both of them, right? One's in a pink hoodie and a hat on backwards. I mean, you can just show up, and these are how people are showing up to interviews. What's your tips for just getting comfortable in front of the camera?
I think just getting comfortable from the camera, the first thing I would tell anybody, and I say this to whether you're an actor or you're a host or you're, starting a YouTube channel and you want to be an influencer, let's say, be authentic. I think that's the biggest thing. So many people try to fall into this trap of trying to become something that they're not. And they're so worried about the idea that they're trying to convey that they lose their message. So to be as authentic as possible, I think would be my biggest tip. And we've seen a huge influx in YouTube right now. To me, I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube. I love what YouTube has become and what it's done for video distribution and, video content. But for a lot of scripted narratives, because we work with a lot of scripted shows, I don't necessarily see that the right platform, but we've seen a huge influx in how-to department, influencers, lifestyle, and a lot of personal brands, because we work with a lot of individuals like entrepreneurs and chefs and stuff like that, and they're all trying to build their YouTube channel. And we were just talking about this with our in-house YouTube coach the other day, that when you're building a piece of content, I have a rule of 3 that I always follow. Every piece should be inspirational, informational, and educational. So, for all those ladies out there, there's a lot of, in the makeup community, to me, has been the best kind of forerunner of this, is they put a look that inspires them. So they create a makeup look that inspires them. Then they show the tools that they use to make that look. And they go a step further by telling you how exactly to use those tools. And if you don't have those tools, what else you could use. So kind of, connecting directly to your relatable audience. You want to inspire people. You want to show people how to do things, because there's a trust factor with that. So if you are trying to start your own YouTube channel or Facebook channel, because Facebook is great, the video conversion in the algorithm is huge. I believe it's 7 times more engagement than a static photo or even just text. The best thing to do is stay authentic and, in my mind, make something inspirational, informational, educational. And then you could just start pumping stuff out. And the more comfortable you get, you'll kind of get to listen to your audience. That's another thing I think people forget to do, is listen to their audience. Because sometimes, and I think the guy before me, what he was saying about with those Facebook groups, they're about building an audience and listening to hearing what they're looking for, what they want. They'll tell you what to create next. They'll tell you what kind of content they really are missing, because you might be satiating a need that you didn't even know existed before. So just, do something like that.
I love that. That is very true. I think one of the big points that I want to drive home from all of our guests today is this doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
You're not going to get millions of people watching whatever you're doing. I mean, I see that there's an eyeball that tells me how many people are watching on Facebook. It doesn't tell me how many people are watching on YouTube. And nor do I care, because I care about the content that I know I'm feeding the beast every day, 4 segments on live, social media that I can go put out again and just keep it going and just feed the monster all the way around. And I think people need to realize that. Everybody wants it to be, I turned it on and 1,000 people didn't watch me. It's no, this isn't a network news. You're not going to get those views, but people will. You have to build your audience. It takes time. You get the good guests on, you have good content, people will go back and watch. I mean, YouTube channels, if you watch that, have old content on it that you're watching still.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, people think overnight successes are literally overnight successes. It takes 10 years for overnight success. I mean, you mentioned Logan Paul. I mean, they started when YouTube started, and it took 10 years for a lot of these people to even be a name. I mean, VidCon a couple years ago was just overrun with influencers, and before it was like a media buying convention. So, it takes 10 years for something to really stick on to stuff. And also another point I should mention is be specific. We had a whole dialogue about this the other day in our team meeting about the fact that like the best thing you can do is be specific of what your brand is, your message, and translate it differently on each platform. So, we've seen a huge influx in TikTok. So who your TikTok audience is, understand what the audience is on that platform, who YouTube, what the demographic is on YouTube, what kind of person people want you to be, or what kind of person you want to be on YouTube. Same with Facebook, same with Twitter. Your voice will modify for each platform, but just be specific into what you're trying to present, because so many people can be all over the place and then you don't know what they're trying to do. And that's when it kind of gets lost, and that's when things don't catch on. But if there's a specific point people can relate to, that's how you definitely will build an audience.
I love that. You bring up one of my favorite new platforms that I started playing with. When I said 8 weeks ago I would never do it, now I find myself sucked into the rabbit hole that is TikTok. Oh, it's so entertaining. I don't know why, but I've done some, and my teenagers are like, Dad, stop. And I'm like, no, it's incredible. So my wife and I are going to do the weekend dance, the one that everybody's doing.
Oh, yeah.
We've been practicing. Oh yeah, it's coming this week. It's coming. I am not a coordinated Irish kid, but you're going to see an uncoordinated Irish kid doing that dance.
Yeah, no, I TikTok, I decided was going to be my quarantine hobby. You have to do something that keeps you entertained. And all I want to do during this whole time is like feed my mind. So it's about, a TikTok is a great hobby. It's a new platform. So why not learn it? And there are so many how-tos on how to do it. So no excuses to not learn a new skill.
No, and you should do it. And people are like,
Yeah.
oh, you're too old to do it. And I'm like, no, some of the best ones are older folks on there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, guys, The Rock isn't young. I hate to break it to you.
What? What do you mean?
I just want to break it. Well, people say that all the time. I mean, they say that. I listen to EDM, and trust me, I hear people all the time are like, that's young people's music. I'm like, you should probably know that Deadmau5 is in his mid-40s.
Exactly.
You probably don't want to know Tiesto's 50. It's really going to disappoint you when you start realizing the guys who are at EDC are in their 40s and 50s and have like 20-year-old kids. So that's why their music's so good. But anyways, Jordan, it's been great having you on. Again, like I do with all my guests, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, find out more information about what you're doing out there.
Well, and thank you again for having me on. So Starbaby Enterprises, you can find us on Starbaby. It's STARBABY Enterprises. It's on Instagram. We have it on Facebook. Also, we have our Starbaby Network because we have our own network. So it's Starbaby Network. You can find that on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, check us out. That's the best place to find us.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you again for coming on. Hope you have a great week, and I'm sure I'll be chatting with you really soon.
Really soon.
Really
Bye.
soon.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good one. Well, we made it to the end of the show. Hopefully that was a good show. I do apologize for the technical difficulties. It's going to drive me nuts the rest of the day that we had all these issues. So I apologize wholeheartedly, trying to use all this new fancy gizmos, having the new backdrop. Just changed a whole bunch of things, trying to up our game. And today, of course, everything, as Newton's law would say, everything that could go wrong went wrong. But thank you for everyone who viewed the comments. So we will have everybody go back. The guests will do that. And remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, remember hit that subscribe button and the notification button so you can catch these segments whenever you want on YouTube. Again, so this is To The Point. Tomorrow's guest, we have one of my faves, Frankie Marino will be on. Frank just interviewed Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos. So if you have been one of those folks who's been binge watching The Sopranos again, one of the best series ever put on TV, Frank got to interview him. So we're actually going to talk about that. Frank is in Staten Island, so he's going to talk about everything. If you don't follow him, go check out his Twitter. His bus rides into the city, because he does live radio, are very entertaining with the way people are behaving. Sometimes the behavior is not so great. We'll have Frank on. We have one of my other favorite people, Betty Campbell's going to be on. She runs an amazing nonprofit out of Portland, Oregon, that she's going to discuss. She's going to come on and talk about how nonprofits can still do their jobs and still support the community during COVID-19. And then we have the CEO of Valor Media is going to be joining us and talking a little bit about what he's doing. They specialize in Instagram and influencers. We're going to talk about what influencers are doing to change the world and focus during these new times that we're dealing with, thanks to COVID-19. We have another guest coming on. I'm going to leave it as a surprise for you guys. So hopefully your Monday's going to go good for you. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Eric Mitchell, the host of To The Point. And remember, be safe, be strong, be smart. God bless America.